Hello, Georgetown. I'm Beverly Enos, and this is Spotlight Georgetown. You can find us Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Now, today we're talking to Kate Hanlon. We're going to talk to her about her art. You're an artist for quite a while.
That's right, all my life, really, I'd have to say. I was that little kid in kindergarten that was drawing recognizable horses and showing them to my teacher, and it's just been, I've continued ever since.
You recently had a showing at the library here in town.
That's right. I specialize in woodcuts, in particular white line woodcuts, and I showed a group of just all white line woodcuts, which was a lot of fun, because a lot of people around town haven't seen them. I talk about them to my friends, but it was nice, and I think a lot of people enjoyed it.
You did an adult class too, didn't you?
I did. I ran a workshop. I got a grant from the Georgetown Cultural Council, and it bought wood blocks and paints and paper, and everybody had a really good time. I think I had about 12 or 13 students, and everybody made a white line wood block print, and it was really a lot of fun for all of us.
Yeah, when I was down at I guess it was the wine tasting, the show was up, and some of the people, the adults, said, "Well, which one do you think is mine? That one's mine. That one's mine." They were so proud of what they had done.
Yeah.
So you used to live in Georgetown.
I did. I lived here for about 15 years, I think. Yep.
Okay. Now, what makes white line woodcut different?
Well,
what exactly is it?
Okay, a white line woodcut is different than the traditional woodcut, which everyone would recognize because it's black lines that are typically cross-hatched and things like that. In a white line woodcut, there's a line. You make your drawing on the block, and basically you cut where you've made your drawing. You don't cut around it. You cut out that line, so there's a little groove that goes through the wood. In fact, I brought a block with me to show you if you want to see it. This is a little demonstration piece I did for this workshop I did recently. So this is the block, and you can see if I run my fingernail over there, it goes
so
down.
you actually carve a groove into the block.
I made a drawing, and then I carve the groove in, and then when I print it, I paint water-based ink on the flat surface of it, and it stays out of that channel, so it makes the characteristic white line in the finished print. So when I paint the ink on, and then I put the paper is attached so that it stays in register. I put that down, and then I rub the back of it in that area, just one area at a time.
Okay.
And then I move on to the next area. I'll paint that green, and then rub it, and then pull that back like that. So it's kind of time consuming, and you build it up by layers and layers, but it makes very colorful. It's just a unique form of expression that I just really have taken to it.
So you carve the lines, and then you paint inside the lines and outside the lines, and the lines remain white.
The lines remain white because when you're printing the surface of the block, the paper only touches the surface, doesn't go down into the lines particularly. So I'm just painting on the surface. I'm sort of painting in between the lines.
Okay.
For the most part, there's of course
Now, how big can these pieces get?
Well, as big as you want to print them. My biggest piece to date is about 20 by 24 inches, but I already have plans for doing something really big. I've seen woodcuts that are like the size of a sheet of plywood, 4 by 8 feet. Yep. I know a fellow down the Cape that has printed them that big. Size is not everything, you know what I mean? Just because it's bigger doesn't mean it's better, but it's interesting to think that you could do it that big. The nice thing about it is very low tech. You can spend an hour doing some printing, and then you can go away and go have lunch and come back the next day, and it will still be there.
Paint another section.
Paint another section. You can take your time at it. It's going to stay there for you.
Well, that's cool. That is different.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, really.
Now, what's your educational background?
Well, I came from Cohasset, Massachusetts, and they have a really nice art department there. I went through the public schools, and from there I went to UMass Amherst, and they have an excellent printmaking department, really good art program. I took a lot of printmaking, and I graduated with a BFA and with a concentration in printmaking. Okay,
so you've been doing this a long time.
Long time, yeah. Yep. And then I worked as a printer for other artists for over 25 years. And had a lot of fun doing that, got to meet a lot of really fascinating artists, and did a lot of printing. But I really have always wanted to just focus on my own work, and I'm finally able to do that now.
It's funny, when we go through all the stages of our lives, you're taking care of other people and you're taking care of the kids,
yes.
and you really don't have time to do some of the things that you have dreams of.
That's absolutely right, yeah. And like a good friend of mine who's an artist said, you have to leave the dishes in the sink if you want to get anything done, and it's so true. You know, you've got to put all that side aside, you know, leave the clutter where it is, just focus and get that work done. So
Well, I'm going to remember that one. I like that.
you have my permission not to do your dishes.
Now, what started you with specifically with the printing?
Well, I've always done traditional woodcuts. In fact, I think I did my first one when I was a teenager. I did a linoleum print of, I think, a potato farmer. And something about the way that you design on wood just really struck a chord with me. And so I continued doing a lot of wood blocks in through college. I spent some time in Provincetown. I spent a couple of summers when I was in college there waitressing, and
As all artists do.
yes, and the white line method is kind of historically known as the Provincetown white line print.
Okay.
And I was able to see a lot of examples of it down there. They have a museum. They have a lot of galleries that specialize in that sort of work, and I really I had to try it, so I did, and it's just been onward from there.
Now, do you do other types of work? Other types of mediums?
I do, yeah, I paint also. I joined a little, a plein air group. We go out of the Newburyport Art Association once a week and in locations all around the North Shore, and that's been a lot of fun too, in being in with a group of people. Because it's a little, you know, it's challenging to get yourself out there and put your easel up, and, you know, you're afraid people are going to come and look and say, ooh, that's awful, you know. But when you're surrounded by like-minded people, then everybody supports each other, and it's been really fun. I've been enjoying that.
So it's a group that you all go out to one location and paint?
Yep. There's a whole email list, and they tell you where your destination is that week, and whoever can make it shows up. And
oh, that's great.
it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's really a lot of fun.
Because without other people around, it makes it more enjoyable.
It does, I think so.
Where do you get your inspirations for what you actually print?
Well, really just from living my life, I would have to say. You know, and I can't help it. I'm a visual person. I see you're in purple and black, and I'm putting that in my catalog of color combinations. And everywhere I go, I walk dogs. You know, I see the landscape. People in situations kind of appeal to me. Sometimes I'm looking for the universal in a specific situation, whether it's, you know, people in a music session, or, you know, an outdoor view of a scene of people outdoors. Something might hit me and I'll think that would make a really nice print. Shape, it's a combination of shape, color, form, you know, it can be anything. Also, I get inspired by other artists, other white line printmakers in particular, Blanche Lazelle, B.J.O. Nordfeldt, who sort of invented the process in 1914 in Provincetown. Their work is so fresh and free, and I can't help but be inspired by that too.
Now, do you go looking for things to print, or does it just kind of happen as you go around your life?
Both. Sometimes I'll think of something to do, but I have to say I do keep sketchbooks going. I love doing bathers. It's one of my recurring themes. I've spent a lot of time at the beach as a child growing up in Cohasset. I still enjoy the beach now, and I keep a book going. And as a matter of fact, my most recent print is a print of my son Charlie lying on a blanket, and being a typical teenager, just kind of not really wanting to be there and bored, and I call it the Blue Boy. And I think my favorite print is just always the last one that I did, so it's I just did it like 2 days ago. But he inspires me, my son, friends of mine. I'm a musician, so music kind of creeps in there.
What do you play?
I play the fiddle. I play Irish fiddle, and I also play banjo as well.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow. We should have had you bring the fiddle with you. You could have had entertainment.
Next time.
Yeah, there's always a next time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it all feeds, they all feed, the different disciplines feed each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, music has rhythm, composition, harmony, and kind of so does the visual art. So
Now, as you make these prints, you only make one print from the block?
at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, I can go back after that print is done. I can take that off And I could print it, for example, in a whole different color combination.
Okay.
I could print it in black and white if I wanted to. I could print it all in blues.
So you can reuse the block.
Yes, infinitely, but I would prefer to do a small, maybe a small, I don't even know if you'd call them an edition, because an edition means it's a consistent body group. These I would call unique, more like unique prints. I would limit it to maybe 10 at the most, because it is labor intensive, and I would prefer to move on to a new image rather than keep repeating the same one.
About how long would it take to do the one that you have with you?
Well, that one is small, and the image is very simple. I did that demonstration in probably an hour or less over at the library recently. So that print is not finished particularly. It's very simplistic, and for my own satisfaction, I'd want to develop it more and put more layers on. Once you've put one color down, you might want to go over and emphasize the edge of a shape maybe, and maybe put a red over the yellow or something, and keep on going.
When you do the larger prints, in my work, the smaller the area is, the more difficult it is to do.
Absolutely. I have some prints. Probably my most ambitious print is the one I mentioned to you before that was 20 by 24. It's this big Turkish bowl, and I call it Object of Desire because I saw it in this shop up in Newburyport. It was so beautiful, but it was like $80 or something, and I just couldn't let myself do it. But I finally broke down. I thought I had to have that bowl. It was so beautiful and so vibrant in the colors and so full of joy. I thought, well, if I do a print of it, then I can rationalize buying it if I'm going to turn it into my art. But it has all these very small areas, and I think it took me probably about a week to print that print.
Okay.
But I could just work on it for a while. Your wrist gets tired, put it away, come back the next day, do a little bit more printing, and I like that print. I thought it came out pretty well.
Now, what's the most difficult part? The carving of the lines or the painting, the printing?
The carving is not difficult. If your tools are sharp, it's almost like drawing. You don't want to slip, so you want to control that. But the painting of the print is the thing that takes the longest time. As I said, that print took me about a week, and it's not just coloring each area once, but you go back in maybe 2 or 3 or 4 times or more even if you need to build the density up and the color up to the level where you want it to be until you finally feel like it's finished. So it's very, very time consuming, especially on a bigger piece like that.
Oh, yeah. Now, where can people find your work?
Well, funny you should ask. I have a website, KateHanlon.com. There's lots of examples of my prints and of my paintings, and you can read a little bit about my artist statement and see where I've had shows. And I'm in the process of getting a page of events, upcoming events, because I have some shows coming up that I'd like to get the word out about those.
Oh, good. Now, how do you get a show?
Well, it's funny because with the advent of the internet, it's gotten a lot easier for that, where gallerists, people who run libraries, can come and look at your work and see if it fits into what their thing is. And often one show leads to another.
Okay.
I had this show in Georgetown. Somebody saw it, and now I'm going to sort of repeat that same kind of show up in Hampton, New Hampshire in the fall. I have another show I got in the Topsfield Library. They're scheduling shows 2 years out, so I have a show coming up in the spring of 2014 that has been scheduled for a couple of years now. So, and also you can ask that I was taking music lessons at a school, Indian Hill School in Littleton, Mass, where my Irish music teacher was. They have a gallery there, and I just submitted artwork, and they said, sure, come on and have a show. So I'm going to have a painting show there in the fall. So
Oh, good.
yeah, I've got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm getting busy, but it's good.
Are you busier seasonally?
Not really, I would have to say. I keep working at it all the time because it is time consuming, and then, hopefully, like my bathers do well in the summertime, and then in the wintertime I work on other things, but I sketch bathers in the summer when there are bathers to sketch, and then I work on them in the summertime or in wintertime whenever I have time. I go refer back to my sketchbook for
And
that.
this is your full-time job?
Well, that's an interesting question because I would have to say I am an artist full-time. I'm noticing things, but no, I have a number of day jobs that support my art habit. I'm a dog walker. I do house sitting for certain of my dog walking clients. I teach fiddling. I just started doing some voiceover work over at EBSCO Publishing, which I'm enjoying quite a bit. So there are a number of things that sort of come and go and help pay the bills.
But they're all things that you choose to do,
Yes,
as opposed to sitting at a desk 9 to 5.
Exactly. I don't know if I've ever had a 9 to 5 job because I'm a square peg in a round hole. So, you know, that's just not my cup of tea.
I can totally understand that. I'd like to thank you very much for coming on.
Well, thank you so much.
It's been nice to have you.
To be here. Thanks.
We'll have you back.
Great.
Spotlight Georgetown, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.